Well, we'll get started. Episode 27 of Utah in the Weeds. I'm Chris Hollifield.
And I'm Tim Pickett.
And together we're Utah in the Weeds podcast. And we have a special guest today, Trevor Ung from Ung Family Farms and In Motion CBD. We're going to have a great conversation because we haven't really had an opportunity to get really talking to any hemp farmers really here much on the podcast. A lot of other people, but not anybody in your doing what you're doing there with your hemp farm. I don't think so. Have we, Tim?
No, we haven't. We've talked to some growers with the cannabis space in the marijuana industry, but that seems like that's a different animal. So I'm excited to get more information. Now, Trevor, your farm is in Payson?
Yep, that's where we're located, just here on the west side. I got into basically the hemp industry. I'm basically one of the growers turned farmer now. So I started growing in Colorado about 10 years ago and spent some time out there in their industry, working in some large marijuana grows, and then doing some marketing and advertising and stuff like that, and just doing my own personal grow as well, kind of learning the plant and how to grow. Always been interested in the plant and growing, and so when I was out there, I got to, finally do it legally. And so, yeah, that's how I got started, and then had the opportunity to move home and then see this industry start taking off. And that's kind of where I came in. We started here last year in the pilot program, and I started on just my dad's farm or his property. He has 5 acres, and I grew on approximately 3 acres last year just to kind of learn the trade, kind of figure out the farming techniques. And here we are now this year, and we're right in the middle of harvest.
Oh, wow. So what brought you back to Utah from Colorado? Was it really just this opportunity?
Yeah, it was more or less for the whole cannabis industry in general. I had interest in the medical marijuana side as well, but I knew it was going to be very difficult to get involved there, where I wanted to kind of do something on my own. And I started following and seeing the hemp industry kind of emerge. I was looking at their rules and regulations and what it took to get involved. And it seemed like a little easier path to get my foot in the door. And so that's kind of what drove me to the hemp industry.
Talk about this pilot program. You mentioned that. Is that like that was with hemp? That was for growing hemp here in Utah? Or I'm unfamiliar with this.
Yeah, that's just what they called it. It was the first year for hemp. And so the whole Utah Department of Agriculture and Food, it was their kind of first year handling the industry as well. So I think they were just trying to get their first year under the way. And so they just kind of called it a pilot program. And I'm not sure if this really starts year 1 for them, but it's basically year 2 for all of us.
Okay.
For most of us, at least.
How many other people are involved in the pilot program? Do you guys communicate? Is it or is it kind of separate farms?
So last year there was approximately, I think, 240 growers in the state who had licenses. Maybe not all of them grew all the way, or maybe just applied and we're just kind of watching the industry. But the pilot program was just something the Department of Agriculture kind of named it, but it's now just, I think, the hemp, industry.
Got it.
But there is like collectives and other associations that a lot of these farmers and everyone who are joining up and teaming up, and we're all trying to figure this out together.
There's just so much, like I was watching you getting ready to ask a question, and there's just so many things on my mind as far as this goes. So you've got 5 acres, you're in Payson, you're on your second year of growing. And like, what do you think about it now? Now you're in your second year.
Oh, so actually since last year, I got my rest of my family involved. The first year when I did this, I got the license and we called it Ungo Hemp CBD Farms. And that was just under like a nickname of mine that I've kind of grown up with. And that's where I started. And we actually got through our first season, and I was planning on my next season, and we found a property just a mile south from my dad's place. And basically between my girlfriend and my brother and sister, we all went in on this 11-acre property. And so now we're farming on 11 acres, and we're basically all in when it comes to the hemp industry right now. And we're working hard here. We still don't have a whole lot of equipment when it comes to the hemp industry. When it comes to like there's buckers, there's trim machines, there's all sorts of fancy tools that will help you get through these harvests. And we're basically running it all through local manpower and just a lot of hands and people out there who are interested. And, we have a lot of employees, but we have a lot of volunteers that will come out and help with this harvest. But yeah, it's a whole new animal, especially trying to grow this plant on, a large scale.
Do you ever get like your neighbors bothering you, like, or freaking out because they think you're growing like marijuana over there and they don't realize you're just growing hemp?
There's definitely a lot of curious neighbors.
Is there? Yeah.
And most of them have all been very positive and, very interested in the whole process as well.
Yeah.
Some of them still think they're big tomato plants and not really knowing what's going on. But there's a lot of curious teenagers and a lot of curious people just always driving around, and they drive really slow by the farm. And we had to deal with actually some theft last year. We had a bunch of plants getting stolen from us, and we think it's a bunch of, like high school teenagers and other people who just, they think it's the real deal because it smells like it, looks like it, and it really is the exact same plant, but just born and bred to be very low THC, and more or less we call it diet weed a lot of times.
Diet weed. That is so funny. I mean, I was wondering about that. That's one of my next questions that I wanted to see. Like, what's the fencing situation around your farm? I mean, 11 acres, that's a lot of ground to put a big chain link fence up around to keep people out.
Yeah. So last year, our fencing was basically just regular kind of pasture fencing, we just kind of stretched fence and post and some kind of barbed wire across the first row. But my dad's property was a very old property and the fences weren't in great condition. So they're easy to get over, easy to get, through. And, so the new property now, I invested, we have 11 acres and it was a lot in fencing. So we got like a 6 foot no climb fence, and wood posts every 25 feet, but we use T-posts in between, try to kind of break down some of the costs. But
I'm looking at your fencing right now. Yeah. It looks like I'm looking at the Facebook post and I think I see your fence, and that looks like a lot of work to put it up.
That was our spring project. And among others, we put up a greenhouse this spring and put up that whole fence. And there was a lot going into it, but we still have people who cut through that fence and they already have. So we have to invest in the cameras and, keep on doing things like that. But it is what it is. If people wanted to get through that fence, they can, but it's just there to kind of slow them down.
Talk about what is the process like to get a permit to grow hemp here in Utah? I mean, is it difficult? Is it expensive? I mean, how different is that versus we've talked about people getting to grow like medical marijuana? I'm sure hemp is a lot different.
Yeah, that's where it was a little easier path for me to get involved on this one. It was basically anyone who's 18 and older, they got to have a clean history, no drug charges within the last 10 years. They have to pass an FBI background check and just go through the license process. The cost for the license fee was only $560, so it wasn't anything crazy.
Yeah.
But then you got to kind of build your business, your LLCs and whatnot, and yeah.
But definitely more than if I want to grow one of these plants out in my backyard, it doesn't seem like $560 is worth it.
Yeah, I mean, and there are some small people just doing that for their own personal use, but there's still a lot of rules. I think you can't be with a certain distance of any kind of public park or this or that. So there are some of those kind of, rules that are in place, but there are some people that are able to probably, if they have enough acreage, or I'm not sure if there's a small of a lot, if you're too small of a lot, you can't grow there. That's something that I probably knew last year, but just haven't brushed up on any new laws.
Right, because you're too busy.
Well, and there's other bigger laws that are kind of threatening our industry that's kind of more important than that one. Doesn't really affect me, so I'm not really looking into, those kind of parameters of what's going to stop me. But we have
Talk
other
about
things.
Those. Yeah, what do you worry about?
So there's some proposed laws for the new cannabinoid that's being brought out. If you guys heard about it, it's a
Cannabinoid.
Delta 8 THC.
Oh, yes, Delta 8.
Yeah, so Delta 8 is another cannabinoid that might be added to our total THC percent to potency tests. And right now, that's one of our struggles as farmers, is producing a crop that is not going over that 0.3% THC. 0.3% THC is very, very, very little. And so for these, there's just not a lot of perfect genetics out there that are staying below there. So it's very close. And all of our plants and crops that we are growing are already been approved, but it's very easy. And we had actually a plant last year come up hot, and that barely came up at 0.37% THC. And the state will actually give you a little bit of a cushion and allow you to harvest a crop that has a plant with 0.35% THC. So they give you a little 0.5 hundredths of a threshold. And so I was 2/100ths over last year, and that plant became illegal just due to the 0.3% THC. But anyways, long story short, that Delta 8 THC, if that is added to the total THC THC contents, it will most likely push a lot of us farmers over that 0.35% threshold and make us be having crops that will either need to be destroyed or have to hopefully have another path to go to an extraction facility where they are able to, extract those THC or dilute those levels.
Holy cow. So this is basically, you can put the plants in the ground, you can work all summer long, harvest the plants, and then at the point where, not only the point where you're under the existing laws when you started planting, but now they might change the rules on you right in the middle. Is that what we're talking about?
They are pushing that right now, yes. And so we've been in meetings with the Department of Agriculture because these are proposed, and there's other things they're talking about. We do have a little wiggle room with that. So we don't actually if our plants, all right, let me start over real quick. Once the plant is like halfway through its flower period is when I would call the state out and have them come they take samples throughout the crop, and they'll do it throughout the whole crop. And if those samples come back at 0.3%, then the state will say, okay, you are approved to harvest this crop. It is a legal hemp crop, and now you have 30 days to harvest. I said 30 days. I call them at 30 days approximately because typically cannabis strains will finish approximately 8 weeks. And so that's around the 60 days is kind of what my estimate is. If perhaps that test result did come back at 0.37% THC, and they said, no, your crop failed, then that's when you're going to get hit with a violation. And then you're going to have to probably figure out, like those routes I said before, either it's going to be destroyed. And I believe there was a lot of crops last year that were destroyed, or it has to go through that extraction route, which I don't know if they even allow that yet. I think a lot of the crops were destroyed that were hot.
Yeah. So I know of an extraction process that happened, a bunch of hemp, and I don't know whether it was, it must have been in Utah because the THC mother liquid ended up here. And it was, and I guess it was a process of harvesting hemp, harvesting the cannabis plant that was designed for CBD oil, and then they extracted the THC. So that's what you're talking about. You've got a pot plant, and you've got to send it to a mill or some type of processing facility where they extract the THC out and give you back what was left. Is that right?
Yeah, that's pretty close. So the extraction facilities, they're able to do, and to really get in deep into this, the issues, a lot of this, there's another proposed law. I'll go back to the extraction process a little bit, but they're also, so at that point of where we're getting our test results back, and we get it back at let's say 2.5%, and we were kind of close to that 3%. They say that they give you another 30 days to grow that plant. Right there in those 30 days, that plant, those THC levels every day are going to be rising, and they're going to go over most likely that 0.35% THC by the time you harvest those plants, and they're cured and they're ready to go. Those plants are most likely, maybe seeing 0.4, 0.5% THC, which is still okay because they were deemed a legal hemp crop. This is where it comes into a weird gray area, and ultimately need to raise this THC level for us farmers to like a 1%. 1% still won't get you high, and it'll make us farmers be able to have these successful crops without being threatened by this very low 0.35%. But going back through the extraction process, yes, you can take these crops, and if they are still hot, they can extract the THC or separate them, and you can even come out with like a CBD isolate, or if you've heard of isolates and all those kind of products.
Okay, this is stuff that I wasn't aware of. These details that are just seem so defeating.
It's very tough right now. There's a lot of struggles when it comes. It's a brand new industry, and those 0.3%, THC levels that we're restricted by, they're very old school, and they need to be relooked at. And to really make this industry like safe for us farmers, we need to have, in my eyes, like a 1% THC or a 10-to-1 ratio kind of thing. I've heard something like this before. Like if you're growing this plant and you have like a 20% CBD and you're barely touching a 1% THC, us farmers, we have no intentions to be growing a marijuana plant like that. It's a very medicinal plant. There's over a 10-to-1 CBD to THC ratio. So I don't know. They really need to relook at this. There's still a lot of stigmas that are attached to this whole plant and this industry. We are treated much differently even from the marijuana industry, where they're allowed to sell their vapable flower and have a market for that. But us farmers here right now, we can't even sell our own flower to anywhere in the state to anybody else besides licensed extraction facilities or another farmer. So there's no way for us. I would love to be able to create even a pack of smokes that can compete with the tobacco industry and, try to help people who don't want to smoke the cigarettes. Well, we have something at least here's medicinal, substitute. There's a lot of things I'd like to do with this plant, and offer to people. And we're just really, our hands are tied behind our back at this point.
Holy cow. So, what do you end up doing with, okay, so let's talk about a successful crop, right? So we're going to go to a successful crop. What do you guys do with it? I saw your products on your website. Are you making those products or selling a lot of those products right from the products you're growing?
Yeah, that's definitely the plan. Our products aren't currently made with my own stuff. We had to buy isolate and other products to get our products in motion, all said and done. Mm-hmm. So it took a while to get our first crops through to the extraction process and to get our oils. And we have currently distillate products right now, which is it's a more of a full spectrum product. And so that's kind of the next product line is what I'm kind of be working with, is more full spectrum products. Right now, all 4 of our products are made with CBD isolate. And so none of those products, they're 0.0 THC. They're all kind of more just an introductory kind of CBD products, I would say. But they just don't contain any THC for those people who don't want to risk their jobs or, that kind of stuff.
Sure. Do you have, like you said, you can't sell any of this, like you can't dry the flower and smoke it, vape it, or anything?
So you're allowed, I believe, to consume like the flower in your own privacy, your own home. Like even when it comes to smokable, I think there's been some sheriffs and we've talked to a bunch of officers about how they can consume it. There is being smokable hemp flower being brought into the state all day, every day. And it's coming and it's being shipped in legally through the internet. And all the other states on outside are selling it in Utah. It's a really weird situation when it comes to like us farmers. We are not legally, the Department of Agriculture will not give us a label or approve a label that is any kind of smokable or even vapable flower. So we have to sell our flower out of state to other people who are creating these smokable products, and then they sell it back to Utah right now.
That is crazy.
I'm just in shock. This is the funnest. One of the funnest interviews I've had, but I'll be honest, I'm learning everything you're telling me is news to me.
It's the inside of what we're dealing with right now. It's really making a struggle for us, honestly. The products we have, it has to go through a very, they have to get all tested multiple times. The whole manufacturing process. If I could be a farmer driving my own plant, going to the farmer's market with it and selling my flower. And it's something that's not going to get you high. It's still regulated by the state. All of our products come with like a QR code that you can scan with your phone, and then it takes you to the C of A, which is a certificate of analysis that's telling you exactly what this is in this plant, what's those testing levels. And so there's all sorts of ways to trace what products or what flower you're dealing with. I think that's one of the issues and worries with the sheriff department is for one, they don't want to see people smoking. I don't know, they think the stigma looks bad, and they don't want to see the open flame when it comes to this product. So
okay, so you can't come, like I was going to invite you to my Christmas party and have you bring a bunch of dried flower.
I would love to come, and that party, just don't invite the cops or Department of Agriculture.
Oh my gosh, you can't. But legally, you can't.
Legally, I can't. And
when you brought this up, like it makes no sense at all that I couldn't go to the farmer's market and have 4 or 5 cannabis vendors selling CBD flower at the market with a COA, right? A certificate of analysis. Like you said, here's what the cannabinoid profile is in the plant. Less than 0.3 THC, whatever, right? I probably agree with you that there should be a spectrum, right? There shouldn't be a cutoff. There should just be a spectrum. As it gets a little stronger, you need more medical advice. You need more medical involvement, maybe. I don't know, but I see the point. I see the problem on the other side too. Regulating that would be dang near impossible.
I could understand to the point you don't want people smoking and driving, and so people may just have too easy access, like a basic cigarette. But I think personally, it needs to be regulated, maybe by the tobacco and alcohol industry then a little bit, or at least by Utah's. I'm not sure how that works with who the tobacco and alcohol, whoever they regulate, sell them. But hey, it's the same thing. It's a smoke, but it's a healthy smoke. It has medicinal potentials. It's safer than a cigarette. I don't know. I'd like to be able to compete with the tobacco industry and get people off cigarettes and smoking something that has some CBD benefits.
Right.
So,
well, and are you growing any, like, is your crops, are you trying to get into other cannabinoids too, or really is the genetics pretty restrictive?
Oh, actually, so CBG is a really big cannabinoid that's very popular right now. And I think that's going to be actually a very successful route for especially Utah growers. Just when it comes to the THC levels, they've been very good with, I think, the CBG genetic, or maybe just the way it's grown. I'm not an expert totally, but there's a lot of these strains when it comes to CBG that they're producing little to no THC, so they're a lot safer when it comes to growing and having a successful crop, but you're not getting as high percentages. So these strains are, we'll say CBD will have strains testing at anywhere from 15 to 18, and they're getting up to 20%. I've heard a lot of these CBG strains are only testing approximately 8 and 9%, at their best, which is probably pretty good for CBG because it's a different cannabinoid and it still kind of converts over time. There's a lot of stuff I need to get into the science of it and get educated myself, but CBG will be another great cannabinoid we're looking into. We have our neighbors growing it and some awesome plants, and CBG is a very awesome cannabinoid, which is, a very medicinal cannabinoid, and still a lot of good things to learn about that one.
I actually just got an email from Dragonfly. They're going to have some CBG bud there. Some CBG flower for sale. Yeah. So. Yeah,
I would. And then the other thing is, what do you do can you sell to a dispensary?
So that is one route we're actually looking into right now. I believe we are able to transfer our hemp flower to the Utah dispensaries. And so with our crop right now, we're already bringing down hundreds of pounds of smokable flower. We're actually trying to produce high quality smokable flower. In our crop, we started every single plant in my field from a clone. We were busy all spring and winter long growing our mother plants, and I cut them last year actually from our summer harvest. And so I grew plants from last summer all winter long and kind of housed my mothers, and just to ensure that we had, high quality seedless, female plants in our garden. So we're definitely trying to hit that medical industry as well.
I mean, I could see, like, for my patients specifically, we've seen so many people who would benefit from a smokable. Well, they use vapable marijuana, right? They use vapable THC, and they like flower, but there's this perception that the higher the THC content, the better the medicine. And it's so beneficial for people to try lower THC strains. And I've had a lot of people ask me if they could buy CBD flower and then mix them, grind them together and mix a 25% THC with almost like a spliff, tobacco and weed, but this is CBD weed and high THC weed.
I think that
get better ratio.
Probably work. I've never tried anything like that myself. I've actually heard a lot of times even CBD actually kind of negates the THC. So if you were maybe too high on THC, you should, maybe take some CBD, and it could help reverse some of those psychoactive, feelings you're having.
Oh, but, yeah. It's this we talk about all the time. It doesn't take away the high, but it kind of buffers the high. A lot of people describe. And the other thing is the research with PTSD is, like you said, a 10-to-1 ratio, but the 10-to-1 ratio is hard to come by in flower, right? Nobody who grows THC high flower is like out there to grow a 10-to-1 flower.
There are some awesome genetics and there are some awesome growers out there who are producing certain, even I call them 1-to-1. That's what they say. That's the true medicinal strains. And there's a few out there. I'm going to throw out there one of my favorite kind of breeders out in Colorado, Scott Reach with Rare Dankness. He grows some awesome medicinal strains. I believe one's called like White Rhino of some sort. It's been years, but some really true medicinal strains. You can have somewhat, not super high. It'll still be more like I'll say like 18% THC, but you'll have like a high, at least 6-7%, CBD. It's not going to be that like 1-to-1, but it's just, more of a true medicinal strain.
Cool. I just hope that there's more of that in Utah over time. And I think that it's probably going to take guys like you combining with these other growers who are growing the high THC strains to figure out the genetics. If the genetics come from Utah, then it's going to have to be a combined effort. I guess I don't know all that much about it, but what else do you do with you said you're primarily working on smokable flower, but do you do anything with the fiber, the hemp fiber?
We haven't got into that too deeply yet. We have a lot of interest in doing fibers and textiles and stuff like that. But the rest of the plant besides flower is what we kind of call in the industry is biomass. And we'll take all the rest of the plant, anything even maybe not in smokable quality, and that will be kind of grind and milled and prepped for the extraction process. And that's the stuff in the oils that we're using for the vape cartridges, or, you go into all of our products like a tincture or your pain cream or, other so on. But, I think I answered that question.
Yeah. It's basically, it's like that the biomass is not something you figured out how to like utilize as a marketable product, because the focus is really still on the flower.
Actually, I think a lot of the farming is going to be into this done on a large scale. If you're just doing for oils, is the biomass route, and it'll be just a more of a kind of a crude way of harvesting. And that's where we're kind of learning this process right now, because we are definitely trying to produce some biomass, just because we can't on this kind of large scale handle and trim and slowly. We don't have this capacity kind of to produce only smokable flower. It would be, if that was like a smaller indoor grow, that'd be more ideal. But where we have like thousands of plants out in the field, and these plants need to be out of the ground by a certain date due to the state regulations, and so we have to cut all these plants down, have them all hang dry, and so it's a very crazy process, especially with what we're doing right now. It's still a big learning curve. But biomass is a very important part, but you have to have a lot of times special machinery. If not, it's very labor intensive, hand shucking or just getting the rest of the plant down, or you just have to have a big milling machine that you can just throw the plant in and kind of grind it all up. So it's kind of a crazy process right now. So maybe we'll have to have another interview where you guys are over at the harvesting side, or have you guys out there where you guys can, have a in-depth learning 101 on what we're doing.
How big are these plants? Like I'm looking on Facebook and they're pretty big.
Yeah, some of them, of course, we're showing some of the nice ones too. We don't always show our little guys off, but there's some, or little ladies. Sorry, they're all females. But there's some that range just like a foot tall to 5-6 feet tall. Yeah, there's some are pretty good size, and some are just like a little bush or hedge that like hip size or shoulder size.
That is so crazy.
It's so crazy. I'm watching you on YouTube right now, like tip one over and pick one up, and I think. Yep. Oh my gosh, you got to do thousands of plants that way. I'm pretty excited about
it. Spent from hauling those, picking 2 plants up on each side and walking and load them up. And it's been 10 days straight, and we got probably weeks and weeks ahead of us.
Yeah. Okay. So, yeah, I'm coming down there. This is going to be, I've got to find some time while you're doing this to come down.
I want to go. I'll hit you right.
Do a video. I think this live. Is for your
right.
show.
We do a live stream down there because
Let's do it.
Like I'm going back in time. Here's all your plants on Facebook, and there's the farm. They're all like a foot tall. And now, I mean, I don't know who this is. But man, she's like shoulder height on her.
Our greenhouse has plants probably, well, I know they're all at least 7-8 feet tall, or they're falling over now. They're, especially with the crazy windstorms we have. And yeah, but we have plants on plants on plants, and this is a crazy time of harvesting right now. I might have bit off a little more I could chew. So we're taking volunteers if any volunteers want to come help.
Do you have a way for volunteers to connect with you on your website, or a way for the volunteers to like sign up?
So far, we've just been taking them, via social media. People will send us messages, or I've kind of broadcasted my phone number on there a few times. So,
connect with you on Facebook for that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. So,
okay. So Facebook and Ung Family Farms, and social media to volunteer and go down there and help these guys, because I'm telling you what, they have a lot of damn work to do.
So then you're gonna harvest all that, and then where's that? You're gonna ship it, or where does it go from there?
So we're working and we're talking and we're trying to network as much as possible. We have some groups we're working with here locally that have connections in Oregon. I've been talking a lot with a gentleman named Scott. He's been really cool with Met, and they have some products that they're going to be doing as well. They have a home base out of Oregon and have some potential flower buyers. They've kind of had more opportunities to sell smokable flowers, so they have those kind of connections, and hopefully we'll be able to work through their downline and even try to sell our own. We're going to be working on our own website and, advertising and trying to sell our smokable flower out of state as well, and get prepared for if and when Utah ever lets us, do something with our flower. So that's something, if we can put some thought and good cause into, is really pushing our state to, let our hemp smokable flower kind of be a thing here.
Yeah. How's this affected your family?
Oh, we're all in, literally.
Yeah.
So they've all supported me. They're actually, I wouldn't be able to be doing this without my family. So that's where Ung Family Farms comes from. Like I said, it was just me starting this crazy dream last year, and it was just Ungo Hemp CBD Farms, or Ungo Hemp CBD. Yeah, this shirt, I guess. But now it's a Ung Family Farms, and I got my older brother, my little sister, and both of their spouses involved, and along with my girlfriend. And it's been, my dad helping me out, my mom helping me out. We're getting support from anywhere we can. We're not like 10-year farmer family. We don't have tractors and all this fancy equipment. So we're out here grinding every day, blood, sweat, and tears, and trying to make it in this crazy industry.
What keeps you going in it, man? Like, I'm sure there's some days that you just don't want to do it. I mean, what keeps you going? What keeps you motivated to keep going?
It's been the dream. I'm pretty passionate about this plant. I've been, involved in the cannabis industry for now about 15 years, professionally working since, in Colorado since like 2010 or 11. And, I love this plant. I'm all supporting even the whole medical side. And I hope to be there someday, or even recreational, it should be someday. We should have a healthier and safer option rather than just alcohol and tobacco. Amen. If you want to relax and you want to get loose, like heck, that's what THC is all about. And there's a lot of great benefits and good, medicinal value for THC as well. So I'm through and through. This is my passion, my dream. And that's where, I'm just fortunate to be here right now growing diet weed. So I'm happy.
Right. How's what are the effects really like of smoking a strong CBD strain or a low THC strain?
So it may just be, it's relaxing, it's calming. There's nothing, you won't get that psychoactive high if you smoked weed before. You might just be like, it's not working, kind of because you're so used to maybe the THC. But I think even more when it gets to the concentrated side, I haven't done this yet, but you can start doing like dabbable CBD. And I've heard people that's where you start getting more of like a full CBD effect. And I've been told it feels like you're putting on a warm blanket, but not dabbing or kind of hitting the concentrates too heavily. I take CBD just after if I'm having a sore time or my body's relaxed, if I need relaxation that way. But I'm still I'll still medicate with the THC, when I need to. I'm not a medical patient here yet in Utah, just due to my craziness, what I've been doing here and I had time, or necessarily investment, because I know that I need to figure out how to do the whole medical card stuff. But
right.
I'm invested into the farm right now. I don't have time for the medical card stuff. I need to get it.
Well, we should do an on-site clinic day down at the farm. Yeah, I'll come down. We'll do a volunteer day. We'll do a discount for the evaluation. Hell, everybody down there is going to have pain.
And I think it's education too. Getting, I saw you guys have info how to get your card and stuff, but there's still a lot of kind of people just curious about how it's done and what it takes, and if they're going to get approved or not. So,
right, we'll do a drive.
That'd be cool.
I just can't get enough of these. They're just beautiful plants. Okay, so talk to us about the products you want to make. Like, what's the number one product that you think is going to come out of this? Okay, smokable flower, right? But
that's my number one thing, especially as a farmer. Like, if I could, I guess I'm just going to put it out there and I'll put my idea out there, but I want to be able to someday do like a you-pick farm, where all the other farmers around here, they just open up their doors to their farm and you can come, we'll give you a tote and you go pick and choose your favorite nugs, and we'll weigh it and sell it to you by the pound, and you can take it raw, or you can, we have our final product. You can buy it that way. But I think a you-pick farm would be really cool. Let people come and pick their own flower. They can dry it their own way, put it in their own medicine, however they want. They know how it's grown. They see it grown here, like it's an organic grow, clean medicine. And I think the flower should be, the cuffs need to be released and have a real chance. So that'd be cool. Smokable flower would be my dream.
This would be a great idea.
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be cool, Chris? Like to go out down? Because look at,
I'd visit.
I'll put up a job online and just mention cannabis in the job, right? Because we do all this medical cannabis, and you mention that, and just kaboom. People come from everywhere. They want to work in this industry. They want to learn about the plant. They want to touch it, smell it. What's it like? Like, I think your idea is awesome. Like, having people be able to come down. That's why I think by just releasing this podcast and this weekend, I want to see how many volunteer signups you get, because there's so many people around that want to experience the plant. They're curious. And they want to do it in a legal way, in a safe environment that's not like full of people that they consider stoners.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm probably stereotyping too much today, Chris.
There's a little bit of that, because a lot of the volunteers that we already have, there are people who use the plant, and they're excited about the plant. I mean, that's all. They just want to be around it. And like you said, smell it, touch it. I mean, I hope they're all aware that it contains no THC. So it's actually, I feel like most people who want to be there are just true enthusiasts and they're passionate about the plant. And I'm happy to have them. Of course, we don't want people coming and stealing and doing this from us, but most of the people we have so far, the volunteers have been great. I mean, they've been awesome. A lot of just even true patients who we have right now. a gentleman with cerebral palsy, and he's a true patient. I'm happy to have him there. He's there as much as he can until, his body won't go no more. And he's just proud to be there, and he's an awesome guy. So we're here for the whole plant. Everybody should have access to this plant, whether it come hemp or even medical or recreational, in my opinion.
It's funny you were mentioning, you don't want people to be stealing there. How funny would it be if someone like took a little bit with them and then they tried to smoke it and they're like, wait a minute, this stuff sucks. They didn't realize they were just trimming hemp or something.
All said and done, I wouldn't care. They wanted some and I just didn't see it and they took it. Like, I'd rather just be on, I don't know. No one likes being stolen from, but people want to smoke it. People do want to smoke it, and it does relax you. So I understand, like back in the day when I was like probably 16, 17, and I used to, think about the plant and stuff. And if I just saw it growing wild anywhere, I'd probably be like, hey, I want to take that with me. So
right?
Souvenir.
Especially in Utah. Especially in
take
Payson.
that ditchweed.
Are you kidding me? This is Payson, Utah. You are at. This place is conservative.
And that's been actually why my venture and my journey took me to Denver. I got in trouble for growing a single plant when I was like 22 years old and almost faced some felony charges. And I had to leave I didn't have to leave the state, but for me to follow my dreams, that's why I moved, ultimately to Denver and try to be, I didn't want to be a criminal. I'm not trying to be a criminal. And so that's why I waited, till I saw Utah was coming around and it was safe for me to come home.
That's cool. I'm so stoked that I reached out to you to bring you on the show, man. I'm so you have such an interesting story. And I mean, I'm sure it's just going to keep getting bigger and bigger. I mean, you probably have one of the bigger hemp farms here in Utah. Don't you think, Tim, or no? I don't know.
I don't even know. Mandy Kerr would know. We could ask her.
Yeah. Actually, just met Mandy a couple of weeks ago, and she's an awesome lady.
Yeah. Did she have you on her Facebook?
No, I haven't been on her.
That's probably because at 10 a.m. Yeah, at 10 a.m. You're busy.
Yeah, especially this time.
You need to go in the winter.
Yeah, we've talked just briefly. I met her at a little networking event that she had.
Yeah.
That was fun. So we went and shot shotguns out with a bunch of people from
the skate shoot. Uh-huh.
Yep.
Cool.
So that's where we first met, and she's already been very helpful, and she's a good person.
Cool deal.
Cool.
Let's get this podcast wrapped up, Tim. Let Trevor get back to his stuff there. I'm sure he's got more stuff to do.
I gotta get to sleep because we got a long.
He's got to get some balm on his shoulders and.
Yeah.
How can how can listeners get in touch with you? I mean, do you have a website, all that good stuff? I mean, what's the best way to connect?
Yeah, so our products, like I said, we have only 4 products right now. That's what we started off with, and of course, we're going to be releasing more as soon as we can, get our hands out of the field and start looking and try to do some product development. But our website is inmotioncbd.com. And then just if you'd like to contact me to come volunteer, there's my social medias, either Ungo Bungo, and that's just UNGO BUNGO. So that's just a little nickname I had. But then, the farm is, the social media is at Ung Family Farms. Same with the Facebook.
Very cool.
Yeah.
And how can listeners get a hold of you, Tim? What's the best way to do that?
Well, for me, it's always utahmarijuana.org. If you want to know about marijuana in Utah, there you go. And you can chat with us online. Call us 801-851-5554. And if you need more information about Ung Family Farms, you forget the name, forget how to get in contact with them, just go to our website and chat with us, and we'll hook you up.
Very cool. Yeah, you can listen to my other podcast, I Am Salt Lake Podcast, iamsaltlake.com. That is another podcast I do with my wife. Interviews with people in Salt Lake City. Tim was on episode 420, so go listen to that episode. That's the one I tell everyone to go listen to. And on that note, we will get out of here. Make sure to subscribe in whatever podcast app you are listening to this in and leave us a review in Apple Podcasts so we know what you think of the show. Anything else you guys want to say while we're still recording?
Thanks for having me on, guys. I really appreciate it. It was great meeting you both. And
I can't wait till we meet in person. Yeah, we got to meet in person.
Good luck to you, Trevor.
Absolutely. Yeah, really. Let's plan something to have you guys out to the farm, and we'll show you the chaos we're doing through the harvest process.